The most powerful
Asia's most powerful
storm.
The most powerful storm to hit Asia this year continues to wreak havoc in Vietnam, killing dozens of people and forcing thousands to evacuate.
Landslides have taken their toll here, especially in the country's northern mountainous provinces. The raging Red River surging to its highest level for 20 years.
With over 700,000 buildings damaged and more than $15 billion in losses, it was the second costliest storm in China's history and the most devastating to ever hit Vietnam. With winds howling at 240 kilometers per hour, it became the most ferocious typhoon to tear through the South China Sea in over 3 decades, and the most powerful storm to slam into Vietnam in more than 70 years. With 844 lives lost and over 2,000 injured, it became the deadliest typhoon to strike the world in a decade, leaving devastation in its wake. This is the story of the birth of a monster and the lives it changed. A first-hand account of the destruction in Vietnam's capital and the heroes who unified to fight against the storm's wrath. This is the story of Super Typhoon Yagi. Vietnam is truly a country of diverse landscapes, rich culture and warm hospitality. From the breathtaking beauty of Ha Long Bay to the hustle and bustle of Hanoi to the stunning mountain ranges of northern Vietnam, it is a vibrant tapestry of life. Exactly the reason why me and my wife moved here 2 years ago. And after a fun but busy summer of wandering wildlife and weddings in Ireland, it was great to be back on our motorbike in Vietnam, exploring this immense country once again. On September 1st, we were exploring one of the most beautiful rural areas we have ever been to in the province of Yên Bai in northern Vietnam. Here we stayed with the local Hmong community and got a chance to work on their farm, collecting wild honey and learning how they harvested and dried out corn and other crops in the heat of the sun. For our few days here, we live very simply with Ying and his family, just as they do every day. Many people in rural parts of Vietnam live in wooden homes on stilts. Their structures are a testament to the resilience and harmony with the land. These homes, while modest, are filled with warmth and character and give us a great insight into not just how the Hmong people lived, but many people in rural parts of Southeast Asia. Many families, just like Ying's family, share these homes, often all sleeping in the same room, a reflection to their strong family bond and deep sense of togetherness. And the area that they lived in was just breathtaking. It honestly felt like we had been transported to the Shire in Middle-earth paradise. Yet, little did we know that in just 1 week, this was all about to change, and rural communities, just like the one that we were staying in, were to be some of the worst affected. On the 30th of August 2024, in the tranquil waters near Palua, the ocean's surface lies still, warmed by the heat of the sun. To anyone, it would seem a serene setting, but a giant is just about to be born. As the ocean waters grow warmer, water molecules begin to evaporate from the ocean's surface and rise up into the atmosphere. The higher they rise, the colder they become, until inevitably they start to cool and condense, eventually forming ominous clouds. The low pressure area caused by the rising moist air pulls high pressure air toward it, unleashing violent gusts of wind. It is the rotation of the very earth itself that transforms these gusts into a spiraling vortex. Like a monstrous whirlpool, the storm draws in more moisture from the ocean's depths, causing the clouds to thicken and darken, and the storm to intensify into something much greater. And by September 1st, Typhoon Yagi is born, and as she gathers her strength, she opens her eye for the first time, revealing a chilling, calm center amid the swirling chaos. On September 1st, the Philippines Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration first declares the storm, named Enteng, a tropical typhoon. The definition of typhoon is a tropical storm that can be found in the Indian or Western Pacific Oceans. In other regions, this might be called a hurricane or a cyclone, but regardless of the name, these storms are synonyms with destruction, bringing high winds, heavy rain and dangerous storm surges. As Yagi moves over the warm ocean waters, it steadily gains strength, heading towards the Philippines. With only 24 hours until landfall, the nation prepares for one of the year's most intense storms. The usual hustle-bustle of Manila fades, replaced by a rising sense of urgency. Over 80,000 people are evacuated from the Luzon region. Schools and airports close and ferry services suspend, leaving harbours eerily quiet. Meanwhile, 29 domestic flights cancel, stranding thousands as they stare at the flickering departure boards. At 2 p.m. on September 2nd, Yagi makes landfall in Casiguran, Aurora. Even as a Category 1 typhoon, it unleashes storm surges that flood coastal areas and uproot trees. The aftermath is dire. Heavy rainfall triggers landslides and floods, claiming at least 20 lives, with many more missing. But amongst the chaos, it appears the Beast has been wounded, as Yagi slammed into the Philippines, causing havoc and destruction. The rugged landscape of the Philippines hit back, breaking Yagi apart and weakening it greatly. Yagi is officially declared to no longer be a typhoon nor a significant threat, and the rest of Southeast Asia breathes a sigh of relief, unaware that Yagi's wrath has just begun. At 5 a.m. Philippines time on September 3rd, what remains of Yagi, battered and bruised by the encounter with the Philippines, slinks away into the South China Sea. Though stripped of her typhoon status, the warm waters act as a restorative elixir to the injured beast. Gradually she stirs back to life, her strength rekindling as she prepares to unleash her fury once more. At dawn, the storm reveals her fierce, glaring eye, a chilling omen of her renewed rage as she sets her sights northwest towards China and Vietnam. Typhoon Yagi has risen from the depths, and she is hungry for destruction. Suddenly, the unimaginable occurs. Yagi, rising from her wounds, is fueled by an insatiable fury, charging forth and gaining strength with every passing moment. By September 5, her wind speed soared to a terrifying 260 kilometers per hour, or 160 miles per hour, transforming her into a Category 5 Super Typhoon, one of nature's most fearsome forces. For those of you unfamiliar, typhoons are categorized using the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, which categorizes storms from a Category 1 to a Category 5 based on their sustained wind speeds. So to put that a little bit more clearly, a Category 1 typhoon has very dangerous wind speeds between 119 to 153 kilometers per hour. Minor damage can be expected, such as some roof and tree damage. A Category 2 has extremely dangerous wind speeds between 154 to 177 kilometers per hour. Extensive damage will occur with power lines snapping and roofs peeling away. A Category 3 has devastating wind speeds of 178 to 208 kilometers per hour. Severe damage is likely, including walls collapsing and entire streets flooded. A Category 4 has catastrophic wind speeds between 209 and 251 kilometers per hour. Well-built homes may lose most of their roofs, power grids will be wiped out, and coastal areas will be heavily flooded. And finally, the most powerful of all is a Category 5 typhoon, with catastrophic wind speeds exceeding 252 kilometers per hour. A high percentage of homes will be destroyed, with total roof failure and emergency services stretched to their limits. You can expect entire communities or towns to vanish. And this is exactly what's on its way to China's southern island, Hainan. In a race against time, more than 400,000 people are evacuated from areas in Hainan as emergency warnings echo along the coastline. Just before making landfall, Yagi weakens slightly into a Category 4 typhoon. A small mercy, but one that Hainan will gratefully accept. At 4:20 CST on September 6, Yagi crashes into China's Hainan Island, delivering one of the most powerful storms the region has faced in a decade, causing widespread devastation, flooding and damage. 4 lives are lost, but many are saved thanks to the swift preparation. Once more, Yagi is injured and quickly struggles to regain her strength in the South China Sea before she reaches Vietnam, but this time she has little distance left to recover. On the morning of September 7, Yagi, now a dying beast, fueled by her last reserves of fury, launches a desperate, savage charge. With a sudden burst of power, she intensifies, ready to unleash upon Vietnam's coastline. As she approaches the coast, Yagi brings with her swells so violent that entire ships are claimed by the relentless sea. Powerful storm surges flood coastal streets and homes, while winds tear buildings apart with terrifying ease. On Cat Ba Island near Vietnam's Ha Long Bay, 18 boats are sunk and 130 buildings are completely destroyed out of a further 4,500 that were damaged. While at Quang Ninh, over 102,000 buildings and homes are damaged, 30 boats are sunk and 29 lives are lost. The effects are devastating. Yet, shortly after making landfall, the once mighty typhoon begins to wane. Her eye, once a terrifying vortex of chaos, fades into darkness, leaving behind a battered shadow of her former self. But even in her weakened state, she remains a lingering threat, with gusts still reaching up to 113 kilometers per hour. The remnants of Yagi continue to wreak havoc, flooding and destroying everything in her path. With her last dying breath, the remnants of Yagi now turn toward Hanoi, the bustling capital of Vietnam, home to approximately 9 million people, including myself. The storm may be fading, but her legacy of destruction is not over yet. So I first heard about Storm Yagi on Wednesday, September 4th from a colleague at work. He had mentioned our local Facebook weather guy, who's called Hanoi Weather Dude, that there was a big typhoon on the way. And to be honest, at the time, I didn't really think that much of it. That wasn't until we got an email sent out by our senior management and principal warning of this Category 5 Super Typhoon that was on the way to Vietnam and potentially Hanoi, and that we were strongly advised to stay home and stay updated on government advisories. The storm was expected to hit the coastline that Saturday morning and be with us in Hanoi late afternoon going into the evening time. On our way home from school, the streets were busy. Even for Hanoi. It's hard to describe, it was like a different kind of busy. Normally when we drive home, people are out, they're sitting on the side of the roads, drinking tea, cooking and eating, laughing, talking. But today it was different. People were on the move, hammering nails, cutting the branches off trees and moving building materials to safer places. There did seem to be a sense of urgency in the air. And before we arrived home, we thought it would be a good idea to maybe stop off at the grocery store in case it closed and we needed, some bits and bobs or supplies for the weekend. But upon entering, it became very clear that we were not the only one who had that idea, as a lot of the shelves were already empty. It seemed like everyone was stocking up and preparing for what was coming. So we bought what we could, we went home, we waited. The next morning I woke up and witnessed a scene like nothing I'd ever seen in Hanoi before. The normally chaotic streets of Hanoi, eerily still. A haunting silence had replaced the usual noise. No zooming motorbikes, no blaring horns, no echoing construction. Instead, a thick silence blanketed the city, broken only by the sharp gusts of wind, the whispered warnings of what was to come. Trees swayed violently, their branches clashing like swords before battle. Above, flocks of birds flapped frantically, as if sensing the storm's approach and desperately preparing for its arrival.
The date is September 2024. We are patiently awaiting for what's looking like it could possibly be Asia's biggest storm of 2024. Typhoon Yagi. So far, weather's kind of fine. A little bit of rain and winds picking up, but that's about it. All calm before the storm. Yesterday we had a tiny little taster of the storm. We had like a couple of hours where the winds picked up, a few trees fell down. There was one person killed in Hanoi, but that is only a small bit of what's to come. They've been calling it a Super Typhoon because it's been getting bigger and bigger. It hit the Philippines at a Category 4 level, killing 16 people. But now it is on the way to China and Vietnam, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger. Never seen the streets so quiet. Clouds are moving fast. Yeah. Never seen these streets so quiet. Yeah, there's birds. What is that? Am I hearing like roofs over there? Yeah, look, it's quite windy over there.
That afternoon, an unsettling tension hung in the air. The skies quickly began to darken ominously, as if the sun had been swallowed up whole. I remember looking up and seeing dark clouds racing across the horizon, swirling like the relentless sea. I remember listening and hearing tin roofs beginning to vibrate and drum loudly like cavalry, as Yagi's fury was just about to be unleashed. At about 4 p.m, the remnants of Yagi's eye wall reach Hanoi. The eye wall is the area surrounding the eye of the storm and is among the most violent and destructive parts of a typhoon. over 6,500 buildings are damaged as Typhoon Yagi tears off roofs, shatters windows and upends fences. About 25,000 trees are uprooted by the strong gusts of wind, some over 100 years old. Power outages occur in parts of Hanoi, leaving many people without electricity. But through it all, the citizens of Hanoi stand resilient. Amid Typhoon Yagi's fury, drivers transform their vehicles into shields, protecting those on scooters and motorbikes from the relentless winds and rain. Acts of compassion blossom as strangers become allies, offering their homes as refuge to those without. Even the force of Yagi is no match for the spirit of Vietnam. At about 7 p.m, the remnants of what was once the eye of the storm hover above Hanoi. Surprisingly, the eye is one of the calmest places during a tropical typhoon because it is surrounded by the violent eye wall. For the next hour, a deceptive stillness envelopes the city, lulling us all into a false sense of security. For as soon as the eye passes, the second wave begins. That night, heavy rain and strong gusts of wind batter buildings, uprooting even more trees.
Yep, that's a typhoon. Standing in Hanoi, capital of Vietnam, during the second largest typhoon in the world of 2024. Biggest one Asia and China has had in about 10 years, and it is kicking off here. Time is about 6:30 p.m. Here at West Lake, where we live, it's literally just 100 meters from my home. Looks like a few of these trees are about to topple over. Time to go.
But it isn't until the next day that I see the true extent of the damage. Hanoi awakens to find Yagi has departed, but left behind a trail of destruction. Trees and branches lie scattered everywhere. In the chaos, 6,521 buildings are damaged, along with the deaths of 1.5 million farm birds, and a further 2,500 other livestock are killed, and tragically 4 lives are claimed.
There's trees all around me. They've been completely leveled here. That. This is insane up here. There's the fishermen out in the lake though. Doesn't stop the Vietnamese. Vietnamese amaze me amidst the chaos of a natural disaster. They just keep calm and carry on. completely uprooted the plants here, the trees, massive trees come down here at the pagoda. Fishermen still out, people still exercising, life goes on in Vietnam, Hanoi. These are big trees that have been uprooted. It's taken up the ground and everything. Tiles on the and cement on the floor. You know, this morning, despite all this destruction, there's been so many people laughing, smiling, out doing their morning tai chi and dances. Oh, sorry, let's get that out of the way. Fishing, just getting about it. You know, it doesn't, the Vietnamese, it doesn't faze them. I'm sure there has been some people who got really badly affected, but they're just strong people.
And this was just after what was now a strong tropical storm. I can't even imagine the devastation a Category 5 Super Typhoon would have caused. Hanoi doesn't wait. A cleanup operation springs into action with military personnel, business owners, pensioners, expats, and even children coming together as one. In a profound way, the storm unites the people of Hanoi, who work side by side to restore their beloved city, transforming devastation into a shared purpose. This remarkable resilience echoed through the streets, a powerful testament to the indomitable spirit of Hanoi. In the face of adversity, the heart of the city beated stronger than ever. In the days that followed the storm, it rained and it rained and it rained. Rain descended relentlessly, pouring down upon the mountainous north where the Typhoon Yagi had moved. Here, many people live in simple homes, just like the one we stayed with Ying's family, often isolated by rugged terrain and lacking access to proper roads, communication, or convenient medical aid. This isolation became a critical issue as a storm of this magnitude unleashed torrents of water, leaving rural communities vulnerable and cut off, like islands adrift in a sea of chaos. Soon, flash floods surged into the valleys. A flash flood is a sudden and intense flood that occur within minutes, bringing destruction and peril. As rain pounded into the steep, unstable slopes, the earth grew softer and landslides erupted across northern Vietnam, claiming lives and burying homes. On September 8th, a landslide strikes Sapa in Lao Cai province, killing 6. Later that day, a bus carrying 20 people is swept away in Cao Bang province, lost to the flooded currents. As heavy rains continued nationwide, the Red River swells ominously. By September 9th, the waters become so powerful that a bridge in Phu Tho province collapses, sending 10 cars and 2 scooters containing 13 people tumbling into the raging river. Miraculously, only 3 are found alive. Lao Cai bears the brunt of the disaster, suffering further landslides and flash floods. On September 10th, another landslide in Lang Nu results in at least 48 deaths, with hundreds still missing across the province. Meanwhile, Hanoi braces for the incoming deluge. On Sunday, September 8th, the cleanup operation is in full swing. Residents work tirelessly, cutting up fallen trees and clearing roads amid an overcast, drizzly day. Yet, farther north, the relentless rainfall continues its descent toward the capital, and flooding begins to take hold. That night, rain batters Hanoi, not relenting until morning. The dawn reveals a city transformed. Our journey to work highlights the aftermath. Streets are flooded due to blocked drains, and the river creeps closer to buildings along the banks. By this time, the river has risen to unprecedented levels, prompting the closure of Long Bien Bridge, one of Hanoi's most famous bridges that has stood strong since it was first erected by the same creator of the Eiffel Tower, Gustave Eiffel, in 1902, closed out of fear of its collapse. Underneath Long Bien Bridge, a more sad story unfolds. Under Long Bien Bridge, on an island in the Red River, an impoverished community has made their home. Cut off from the rest of Hanoi, these people have very little, but their stilted homes, once a refuge, now lie completely submerged, along with whatever little they had.
Here we are at Long Bien Bridge. So this is one of the most famous bridges in Hanoi, possibly in Vietnam. It was built by the same maker as the Eiffel Tower, and people are coming down here every 5 seconds on their bikes to take videos of the bridge, because it's been closed. It's completely been closed. There must be thousands and thousands of bikes that go across this bridge every day, and it has been closed. It is at a standstill, and it's because of the high levels of water that are flowing in the river right now. We had a bridge that collapsed about an hour or two away from here, and people fell to their death into the water. We had cars, bikes, all swept away by the Red River. So this is no joke. Yeah, you can see everyone's just coming down here. The area here, we are very far from the Red River, and even here there's floods. And the problem of when there's floods is drain pipes get blocked, sewage ways overflow, so that is all probably extremely dirty, unsanitary water, and it's going into people's homes, and people are having to walk through it. Crops have been ruined. The people in Banana Islands who don't have rights to live in Hanoi, their island is completely underwater. All of their houses have been destroyed. You know, this is a complete and utter nightmare. Disaster. It's a natural disaster. So we're going to take you up to show you the deluge elsewhere.
At school, our senior leadership team gathers us, urging everyone to take laptops home each day. There's a growing sense that we might soon have to shift to online teaching as the storm worsens. That night the rain intensifies, heavier than any we have seen. But it isn't just the local rainfall that is the problem. The torrents from the northern mountains surge into the city as well. And as rain continues in the north, China's Malutang hydropower dam fills to a dangerous level, risking dam failure. Out of fear of the collapse of the dam, the decision is made to release some of its water into the Low River, which flows into the Red River, only intensifying the problem in Hanoi. On Tuesday, September 10th, evacuations continue as the Red River climbs to over 9.5 meters. The Vietnamese government issue a flood level 1 warning. This indicates the potential for serious flooding, while flood level 2 warns of imminent danger, level 3 signals severe risk, and level 4 signals catastrophic flooding with widespread destruction imminent.
So obviously it's just completely frantic here at the minute, with people rushing all over the place to try and get their homes cleared out. Just down here you want to see it's completely flooded. The streets are so covered in water and deluge, people are having to get boats now to their homes. down to the ambulance. Yeah.
They're so resilient, the people, like.
It's actually very easy to forget that, you know, like, our flat hasn't been affected. There's large parts of Vietnam and Hanoi that have not been affected, but like, we're less than a kilometre away from where we live, and there's people having to go to their apartments in boats. Like, even on our way home from school, there's siren, like, we're going ambulance after ambulance after ambulance, and you know it's because of this. Yeah, it makes you feel a little bit guilty.
Really bad,
Yeah.
What can we do?
The ambulance, like, it's literally driving through the water.
Boats race through the streets of Hanoi, delivering supplies, transporting people, and carrying out rescues. Specially equipped ambulances navigate the flooded roads, tirelessly conducting emergency operations. Farmers fight valiantly to save what remains of their crops before the river claims them that night. While residents along the banks of the Red River sleep in their beds, relentless rain pounds Hanoi. With each passing moment, the river continues to grow and grow. By midnight, at a staggering 10.6 meters, it reaches breaking point. People are awoken to screams of panic as homes begin to fill with floodwater. Power outages plunge families into darkness, forcing them to wade through the rising floodwaters in their pajamas as they head for safety. The Red River has reached a level 2 flood warning. As rain continues to drench Vietnam and the relentless Red River surges to an alarming height, fear spreads of it reaching a flood level 3 warning. Wednesday, September 11th marks a critical turning point. By 1 p.m, the floodwaters swell to an astounding 11.14 meters, elevating the flood warning to level 3. The situation is about to become critical. If the river continues to swell, many people in Hanoi could be in serious danger, and large parts of the city could become flooded and damaged. As floodwaters fill the city, people are at risk of drowning, homes becoming destroyed, and underwater sewage spilling into the water, spreading disease. Not only this, but people can become trapped or left without food or supplies. And there is always the risk of damaged power lines, causing those wading through the water to be electrocuted. In a final attempt, the Vietnamese authorities mobilize emergency response teams, dispatching rescue boats and setting up evacuation centers across the city. Meanwhile, the residents of Hanoi hope and pray that the rain finally stops. Thankfully, their prayers were answered. The next day, on Thursday the 12th of September, the river levels begin to finally fall after reaching a peak of 11.3 meters. The city breathes a collective sigh of relief as the water finally starts to recede. Ironically, by Friday the 13th of September, the river has returned to a safer level and Long Bien Bridge is reopened once again. Despite the significant damages, homes submerged, businesses devastated, and streets still littered with debris, the community begin to rally. Residents return to their homes, sifting through the wreckage and starting the monumental task of the cleanup and repairs. While the courageous military personnel tirelessly press on across the country, providing emergency aid and rescues to those in need, clearing wreckages and bringing comfort and hope to those who need it. I contacted Ying and his family to check if they were okay. He told me that they were all fine, but others were not so lucky. And as for the Red River settlers, their small community on Banana Island gradually re-emerges from beneath the depths of the river, revealing their damaged homes. All their possessions, food, clothing and books have been destroyed, but now they can finally begin focusing on rebuilding. In the midst of the devastation, stories of survival and community strength emerge. On September 13, news breaks out of 123 individuals initially feared loss to a landslide who had been found alive after escaping to the mountains. Their survival against the odds provides a beacon of hope for many. The community's determination and the support for rescuers and volunteers underscores the unyielding spirit of Hanoi, illustrating that even in the darkest times, hope and resilience can guide the way forward. Amidst the devastation and chaos, countless unsung heroes have emerged. Local volunteers have been working relentlessly, providing emergency aid like food and clothing to those in need. Among them is Blue Dragon's Children Foundation, a charity well known to many of us in Hanoi for their life-saving work in combating human trafficking. Co-founders Zhu Zoi and Sky Makanachi, along with their dedicated team, have gone above and beyond during the Typhoon Yagi. They've not only led efforts to clean up homes and repair vital infrastructure, but also provided essential supplies to flood-affected families, all while continuing their mission to rescue and support those trafficked into slavery. This is exactly why Magella sprung into action and put her art teaching skills to good use by organising a charity painting workshop to raise money for this amazing charity.
For everybody who has said, we've raised almost 11 mil tonight, so brilliant. Well done.
Now, I've been struggling with whether to end the video here or not, but I feel that an uncomfortable conversation needs to happen. In the past 5 months alone since Yagi occurred, the world has been battered by an unrelenting wave of natural disasters. Almost immediately after Yagi occurred, another storm hit central Vietnam, causing numerous landslides. Devastating floods have swept through Europe, wildfires have ravaged California, and hurricanes in Florida have tore through entire communities. Just a couple weeks ago, Storm Owen slammed into Ireland and Britain, destroying homes and gardens, including my parents'. And as alarming and tragic as these events are, they are not just freak occurrences. It appears that they are in fact part of a much larger and undeniable pattern of events happening around the world today, driven of course by climate change. More frequent, more violent, more personal. Now, I'm not here to point the fingers or blame anyone. I have seen firsthand how people have suffered and been devastated by these events. I'm certainly not here to lecture people to recycle more and start riding their bicycle to work. We've all heard enough of that. My purpose here is to simply acknowledge the bigger picture and hopefully inspire meaningful action. It sometimes feels like no matter what we do to tackle climate change, it's never enough. Always too late, always too little. But I'm here to tell you that change is happening. We are making a difference. The tides have started to change and a major shift is underway. And this momentum will continue to happen if we keep pushing forward, demanding action and working together. Carbon emissions, deforestation and agriculture are some of the biggest contributors to climate change. This is why we need to direct our attention to transitioning to cleaner energies, restoring valuable ecosystems, and promoting sustainable practices. You can make a difference by voting for leaders who prioritize climate action, investing in sustainable and regenerative industries, or supporting local and global projects and organizations that are actively driving change. This is why I have set up a GoFundMe for 2 organizations that I believe are making a significant impact. Number 1 is Keep Vietnam Clean, which is a local organization here in Hanoi that not only played a massive role in cleaning up after Typhoon Yagi, but also continues to focus on improving air and water quality throughout Vietnam through cleanup initiatives and educational outreach. Keep Vietnam Clean is a grassroots organisation with a vision of a Vietnam with waste-free cities, plenty of green space, and clean water and air for all. They focus on waste management, sustainable agriculture, and community green space. Just a month ago, Hanoi was ranked as one of the most polluted cities in the world, so the need for these kind of organisations are more critical than ever. And the second organisation I've chosen is 350.org. They are a global non-profit organisation dedicated to tackling climate change by reducing atmospheric carbon to 350 parts per million. They actively work to build a global movement that accelerates the transition to renewable energy and sustainable living. And the links to both of these GoFundMe pages can be found in the links in the description. Making this video has taken a lot of time and effort on my behalf, as well as juggling a full-time teaching job, but it would be hypocritical of me to expect others to take action and not do so myself. So over the course of this year, I shall donate every cent this video makes to both of these charities. If you're compelled enough to donate, that would be incredible, and I thank you very much. But I understand that not everybody is in the position to do so. However, you can still help, and it can cost you absolutely nothing. By liking and sharing this video, you're not only spreading awareness and educating others, but you're also helping to generate more money through YouTube's advertisements, which I will then donate to both of these charities. So please, if you could like and share this video, it would mean the world to me. Thank you. This experience and story is one that I will remember until the day I die. And I know a time will come when I look back on Vietnam and remember it not just for its spectacular landscapes and delicious foods, but for its people, for their resilience and strength, their unity and sense of togetherness, their hospitality and welcomeness. It truly is a country that leaves an imprint on your heart. Typhoon Yagi has shown us all that in the face of nature's fury, true strength lies, not in standing alone, but in standing together. It has shown us that resilience is not about rebuilding homes, but about rebuilding each other. The spirit of Vietnam is truly unbreakable, and the people remind me that no matter how strong the storm, unity will always be stronger. As climate change continues to intensify storms like Yagi, we must recognise the growing risks and take action to protect our communities and environment before the next storm arrives. And remember, like the storms that shape the land, it is our unity that shapes the future.